Listen up, fellow Democrats. Fight fake news and lies with facts. Save our democracy from right-wing hypocrisy. Keep our integrity, embrace our diversity. Whenever we're down, we always come back. So listen up, Democrats. Listen up, fellow
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progressive Oregon, a weekly engagement live stream broadcast on progressive issues in Oregon. Today we have two guests on our show. We have Michelle Blum-Atkinson from House District 6, and we have Christy Inskip from House District 7. And it's always great having candidates from the farther reaches of the state because we can talk about issues that face people outside of the metro area. And just so you know, if you are watching live, you have the ability to type in questions, and Betsy will relay them to us, and we'll do our best to get them answered. So first of all, a weekly update. Just two things. The first thing was Future PAC contacted all the candidates last week, and they invited them to a gathering in Salem on filing day. And they billed it as a chance to meet with lobbyists. So anyone who's not in the system is pretty much horrified to find out that this is going on. It's done probably with good intentions, but it's hooking up lobbyists to our legislators before they're even elected office. It would have been nice if they had invited Bernie PDX or maybe the Southern Oregon chapter of Our Revolution or even Progressive Oregon, but no, we were not invited to the party, probably because we don't contribute money. I'm going to find out later today if some of our candidates went and just what the experience was like. The other thing that I'd like to mention is last night was the Multnomah County Celsi Dinner, which is their annual fundraiser. This is a group that the Multnomah County Democrats really resisted people joining their club. They kind of ran it as a priesthood until we had an influx of progressives who wanted to join the party in 2016. And then there was about 6 months of tension between the two groups where the progressives were trying to demand their place and their right inside the party. Which is what they should do if they're elected, certainly if they're elected. And there was a resistance for about 6 months, but then they had their reorganization. They elected fresh leadership. And under the leadership of Laurel Robbins, who is their current chair, the Multnomah County Democrats has exploded. It should have always been a powerful group because it is the largest concentration of Democrats in the state. But there are so many ways in which people can spend their time and channel their energies. It's a group that has struggled to be effective. But now that they've opened their arms and are embracing everyone into the party, the activity and the attendance and the participation has just exploded. The monthly meetings are 3 times as many people in attendance as there used to be. And then the Celsi Dinner used to be 85 to 100 people. There were 350 people at it last night, and it included everyone from former Governor Barbara Roberts to Congressman Bonamici and Congressman Blumenauer. Senator Jeff Merkley was there, and of course we had all of the office holders in Multnomah County, plus all of the people that are running for office, plus people from outside of Multnomah County, because it sort of became the place to be. So congratulations, Laurel, on an amazing evening. And it just bodes well for the whole party, and certainly a good indication to other county organizations around the state who seem to be uncomfortable with newcomers coming in. If you don't bring in new people, you're going to age out and you're going to disappear. So please welcome people, especially if they have the right to be in their organization. So I wanted to give a primary update. So John, if we'll go to the slide called "The Election is Over" for these House representatives. There's there's 18 seats where we know who's going to be elected in November, and barring any act of God. So they have no opponents in the primary, and they have no opponents in the general election. The Democrats are quite happy with the way things are going because the Republican Party has moved so far to the right that they are now struggling to maintain their existence. 14 of the unopposed candidates are Democrats, and 4 are Republicans. So hopefully you're happy if you're in one of these representatives districts. Hopefully you're happy with your representation because you do not have a choice on the ballot. If you go to the next slide, John, on what does this mean? So in the general election now, Democrats only need to win 17 seats to maintain a majority. The Republicans need to win 27 in order to capture control of the Oregon House. So currently, Democrats control both houses, and unless they truly screw it up, which they have a tendency to do, they will not only have a majority, but there's a likelihood that they could have a supermajority. And the graphs, the black portions represent how many seats they have to win in order to capture a majority. And you can see the Republicans have a much steeper climb. In the House or in the Senate, there's a little more competition for seats. There's 15 seats in the Senate that are up. Half of the seats get elected every 2 years. So the election is now over for Betsy Johnson, James Manning, and I listed Betsy Johnson twice, and I can't remember who the other one is. Unfortunately for the Republicans, all of the Republicans that are up for election have opponents. And so only 12 seats remain that are to be elected. So we are delighted to have 2 guests from the southern part of the state. Our first guest is Michelle Blum-Atkinson. Welcome, Michelle. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, Larry. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So, what triggered your run for office?
Yeah, well, it was something I had been thinking about for a while, and something that a lot of people had asked me about doing. And I grew up in Medford. I want to see it succeed, and Oregon's my home. So I think there's a lot of things I need to get done. And I was a little tired of waiting on the sidelines and watching it happen around me. I want to be part of it.
Well, we're so excited you ran. So the occupant of this seat is currently Saul Esquivel, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of a theme running through our show today. So Saul Esquivel, Cedric Hayden, and Julie Parrish were the sponsors of the ballot measure that we voted on in January. Fortunately for us, Saul Esquivel is finally retiring from the legislature and is not running again, opening up the position for other people to run. So what cities are in your district?
It's actually just Medford.
It's just Medford.
Not
okay.
all of Medford, yeah. So you can see it includes mostly the city limits of Medford, but it excludes the Manor, which is a large retirement community in Medford.
Yeah, it's interesting. It looks like, I don't know, gerrymandering maybe. just a tad of gender. You know, I used to think that there were no gerrymandering, and then yesterday I was looking at the district, the donut that we have around Bend. So there's a district that's Bend, and then we have the donut around Bend. So I believe the next slide is the party registration in your district. It looks like the non-affiliated is the majority group in your district.
Yeah, there are a lot of people not affiliated for whatever reason. Maybe they were registered with motor voter, or they just don't want to be part of the system. And so that's a lot of votes.
And they won't be voting for you in the primary because we tried earlier to open the Democratic primary, but we got shot down on that. So your target audience, well, you don't have an opponent in the primary, correct?
I do, actually.
Oh, you do have an opponent.
Yes.
Well, good for you. That's so democracy is alive and well in Medford.
That's right. That's right. And there's an independent running as well.
And then the rest of the parties just have token membership in your area. So what are the big issues that you hear from people when you go around and talk to them?
And in Medford specifically, and I'm sure this is all over Oregon too, but we have a big problem with homelessness right now. And we've got kids and veterans and families living out in the cold. And it's really sad, and it's unacceptable. So that's something, there's a lot of really good people working, trying to make it better, but it's something that's not only affecting people who are homeless, but also we just have a real big housing shortage. So we need to build some houses. We need to find a way to get that done like yesterday. Yeah, it needs to happen.
What have you held political office previously?
I wasn't elected. I was on the library advisory committee for Jackson County. So I don't know. I mean, it was actually national news that in 2007, the Jackson County library system closed. So every single library in our county was shut down. And so it was a really sad time because this is, like I said, this is my home, and I grew up with the libraries here. So I started a campaign called Libraries for All to advocate for starting a library district. And I was on the library advisory committee. The library, after 2007, they reopened, but they did like a public-private partnership. So the county actually worked with a business, and the business became the operator of the library with very, very limited hours. Like some of the library branches were open, I think like 4 or 8 hours a week, almost nothing.
Oh no.
Yeah. So when I did the library advisory committee, we decided to do a special library district, and that is what they did in Deschutes County to save their library system. And it worked. People were pretty skeptical, but it actually passed by about a 6% margin. So it was a good margin. And now our libraries are open 40 plus hours a week, which is a lot better than 4. And I can take my kids. So that was my first taste into what the government can do. That is good, that is helpful. And it's not just, that doesn't just help one party, right? That helps everyone in our county to succeed. And even the Jackson County Republicans use the library for their meetings sometimes. So that was something I was really proud of. And a woman named Lynn Howe was also on the library advisory committee with me, and she ran for House District 6 twice. In 2008 and 10, I believe. And she was a mentor to me and someone who I really respect. And she's since moved to Oakland, California, to be closer to her family. But she really inspired me to get more involved and look for ways to help the community. And she's a retired nurse, so she spent her whole life helping people. And so I was on the phone with her yesterday, and she was super excited for me and going to help me out and introduce me to people and explain some of the issues. She can really be a resource for me on healthcare because she knows so much about the healthcare industry. And then other than that, Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, well, other than that, I'm an elected precinct committee person.
Hey.
For Jackson County, yes. And
Oh, I was at the reorganization meeting. Were you there that night?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, well, we were in the same room together.
All right, awesome. So the other government experience I have is I am on a school board for Kids Unlimited, which here in Medford is a public charter school. So it's a Title I public school, meaning that most of the children there are low income or come from low income families. So that's a program that does amazing things for the kids here in Medford and Jackson County. So I've had a lot of fun being on that board.
A theme that is running across the rest of the state is drug addiction. Are you finding that's an issue down in Medford?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a huge issue. And we just don't have the facilities. What's really sad is people come to ask for help. Let's say they have an addiction and they go somewhere and they want to recover. A lot of the organizations here in Medford don't have the capacity. So they actually turn people away right now. They say, well, we can only take 5 people a day. And can you imagine like taking the courage to go and seek help and just not being able to get that? So that's what's happening right now. And there's really no excuse. I think we just need to look at the problem, find the solutions. There's so many people who want to help. I think it's just about connecting the dots at this point.
And that's sort of one of the subtopic under healthcare. Is healthcare an issue down there as well?
Yeah. Well, I mean, our largest industry in Medford is healthcare. We've got 2 hospitals and just a ton of medical experts and professionals. And, it's something that is a real positive thing for this area. But, there's a lot of room for improvement. There's still a lot of people who aren't getting the healthcare that they need. And so that is something that I definitely want to look into solving. Because I personally feel that healthcare is a human right. And I would like to find a way for everyone to be able to have healthcare, not just access to healthcare, but actual healthcare when they need it. I was denied healthcare before the Affordable Care Act for a pre-existing condition. And I'll never forget, I was pregnant at the time too. And, well, actually I wasn't pregnant. I got pregnant like a month later after being denied. But anyway, it was pretty terrifying to not have coverage and being pregnant. But luckily the Affordable Care Act took place January 1st, and Juliet was born January 29th with an emergency C-section. So here we go. I was very lucky to have health insurance at that point. But, when someone is sick or someone needs help, they shouldn't be worried about trying to navigate the system and how they're going to work with the insurance companies and debate and fight with the insurance companies, or just have a system that is difficult to navigate your way through. Like, we need a system that when you're sick, you can focus on getting better and not on how you're going to pay your bills.
Any other issues that are coming up in your district?
Well, I mean, environmental issues, or I think in Jackson County, we're all mostly outdoorsy. It's beautiful, and we have the Rogue River. We have lots of places to hike, and but we also have an inversion layer. So we get some kind of bad quality air sometimes. It comes in and it doesn't have anywhere to go. So that's something that I think we need to look into, is making sure we have good quality air and that we're defending our beautiful land for our future generations. Yeah, there's only one planet Earth.
So have you thought about what committees that you'd like to be appointed to when you get in the legislature?
Yeah, well, I would have to talk to people about that a little bit more, but the ones where I can make the biggest difference in these areas that we just spoke about. How can we fix housing? How can we protect the environment? Also, education is something that's super important to me. I went through the Oregon education system, so I know a lot about it, and I know a lot of people who work in it, and it has a lot of room for improvement too. We have to protect students and teachers, smaller class sizes. I'm a big advocate for really healthy meals. I know things have changed, but I mean, the kind of food I got in school was I think it was like the same company that for jail food, like the same food. It wasn't very healthy or nutritious. We're in Oregon. We have farmers. We have fresh food. We have delicious food here, and it actually doesn't cost more money. So that's one thing that we've done with Kids Unlimited, the school I was telling you about here in Oregon, is that we have a lot of partnerships with local farms, and just built this brand new kitchen, and the chef makes amazing food. Like, you would not think it came from a school cafeteria. And the kids are involved, they help make it. And the goal with Kids Unlimited is to feed kids meals there 7 days a week. Because if the kids at home aren't getting nutritious food 3 times a day, then it's pretty hard to expect them to do well in school. And so that's one of the reasons we think that the attendance rate is so high, among other reasons, but the attendance rate is much higher than the state average. And because they know they can get good food.
Interesting. My, excuse me, in Clatsop County, I think Oregon a couple of years ago was lowest in attendance or graduation, and in Oregon, the Astoria School District was at the bottom. So Astoria was at the bottom of the bottom. I think we've climbed up a little bit on both rankings, but I don't know what happened to the educational system in Oregon. When I was growing up, my cousin lived in Oregon, and my parents had moved to California when I was in school age. And whenever I'd visit my cousin, it was just obvious to me that his education was better than mine. And he lived in Sweet Home, which is, fairly rural part of the state. And I don't know how the system declined so precipitously, but I'm hoping that you can get in there and provide leadership. I think it's going to take courage and leadership to get us out of this quagmire, because it's all about funding, but no one's convinced that the money that we throw into education is being spent effectively and thoughtfully. So good luck.
Yeah.
So if we want to donate to your campaign or get involved in your campaign, how do we find you?
Oh, sure. I have a website. It is Blum-Atkinson.com. And fun fact, I developed the website myself because I'm a nerd. And you can email me at michelle@Blum-Atkinson.com, or call or text me at 541-690-8438. So, yeah, get in touch. I want to hear from everyone.
Betsy, we're
all in this together. We all have to work together, and I don't care what party you are either. I want to work with everyone.
Betsy, do we have any questions?
Yes, one. There's Oz Lefebvre asked, Michelle, will you continue to try and inspire and promote political engagement to all who are serious about strengthening the populist ideology we see growing in politics today, and how?
Yeah. Well, we have to get more people involved, and that's something that I love to do. And that was one of the reasons well, it was one of the reasons I was considering not running for office, actually, is because I love to help. I have these friends who are running, and I want to help them run too. But I think I can help them run and run at the same time. I have a friend, Amy Thurin, who's running for county commissioner here in Jackson County. She has a history with nonprofits and Red Cross. And there are some groups here in Southern Oregon that I'm part of that are encouraging more women to run for office, and more like new leadership as well. And there's just so many different ways to get involved, so many different types of elected office or committees that people can be part of, down to city council, even water and soil district. And so I really encourage people to not just sit on the sidelines and wait, step up and have your voice be heard and get involved in some way, because there's just so much that needs to be done right now.
Was there anything else, Betsy?
That was the only question.
So any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
I don't know. No, I'm just glad to be on the show, and I'm thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
You're most welcome. Excuse me. Good luck with your campaign. Your district is one of the lucky ones in which there's a reason to turn in their primary ballot, because they have a choice of 2 candidates. So good luck.
Thank you, Larry.
Bye-bye. Say hi to Sarah for me.
Okay, I will.
Our next guest is in the adjacent district, just to the north, Christy Inskip. Welcome, Christy.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I was excited to see that you stepped up to run. So you do not have an opponent in the primary, correct?
I do not. No, he withdrew.
Oh, wow. But you were running against Cedric Hayden, which I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So I calculated how much it would cost to. So one of the problems with the Oregon legislature is that we do not pay legislators anything, and it's very difficult for legislators outside of Salem or like a good connection to Salem, like Portland down the I-5 corridor. It's very difficult for them to make it all work out. Normal people with mortgage payments and normal jobs cannot run for the legislature. And so I calculated how much it would cost if we gave the legislature a raise. So we paid them equivalent to what many of the county commissioners made, and it was about $4.5 million. Well, it turns out that just that one ballot measure that we voted on in January, which your opponent was a sponsor of, cost the state $4.5 million. So my theory is, if we would just pay more, we would get a better quality legislators, and they would not be doing things like this that are just such bad ideas.
I agree 100%. I wholeheartedly agree. In fact, one of the barriers to me running was that I would receive a pay cut, because the legislature pays so little. And like you said, the average Oregonian can't afford to run. And, only independently wealthy, or those who have wealthy spouses, or people who are retired, are really the only people who can afford to run and serve in legislature. And it's very inequitable. We need more diversity in the legislature. I'm excited to see that we have more diverse people running, more women. In fact, across the nation, I'm really excited to see so record numbers of women running. And, you know, even though that was a barrier for me, I decided that it was too important. We could not let my opponent to continue doing what he's doing. And I thought that it was too important and decided I had to run. And I hope that we can, you know, like you said, I hope that we can, you know, eventually give raises to the legislature so that we can get higher quality, more diverse, you know, higher qualified legislators.
There's a picture of your district. It looks like it's mostly trees.
It mostly is. So it's a very large, very rural district. So it covers, you know, up the Mackenzie Highway, up to Mackenzie Bridge. It covers all the way out to Oak Ridge. It covers down to Cottage Grove, out 138 to Elkton. It covers down south into northern Douglas County, down to northern Roseburg. So it is a very large, very rural, also very conservative district.
Yeah, if you show the graph, John, the Republicans have a edge. The next largest group of people are the non-affiliated voters, and then the Democrats are the third largest group. And then there's a much smaller group of independents, and then the rest of the parties are just pocket change. But it looks like the non-affiliated could be a gold mine in the general election. One of our theories in opening up the primary was that for all of the non-affiliated voters who are on the middle to left side of the spectrum, would then understand what the Democratic Party stood for and what the beliefs are and the values, and that there would be a tendency to join them. But fortunately, they'll be able to vote in the general election, so that could be a gold mine for you to getting that differential between the Democratic Party registration and the Republican Party registration.
Absolutely, and I hope that as I'm out in the community having events and door knocking, I'm hoping that we can really reach the people and show them that we have shared values so that we can do exactly that.
So in your district, it's probably similar to 6, I would think. Do you find a similar set of issues that people are concerned about?
Yes, that is true. We do find that people are concerned about jobs and the local economy. People are concerned about education, and also about healthcare, access to healthcare, and also the environment as well. So we find, for instance, especially since this district, House District 7, is so rural, folks have trouble accessing healthcare. I believe that everyone deserves access to a doctor. Everyone should have a primary care physician, and that is not the case. And I think that we can do a lot to change that. And I think that we can look at ways to support things like telemedicine and opening new clinics in the more rural areas, maybe looking at transportation issues so we could bring folks in to areas where there are doctors, so they can get physical health, oral health, mental health access to providers.
It was interesting hearing Michelle talk about homelessness, because it's so visible in the Portland area. I mean, people have taken residency outside of buildings in core downtown Portland, which didn't exist 4 years ago. But it's not just a Portland issue. It's an issue out here in Astoria as well. We have a homeless population, and they tend to live in the woods, and so they're not as visible as they are in Portland. And then Michelle was just talking about it in Medford as well. How's it in your district?
So housing is a huge issue in our district as well. We have a large number of people who are unhoused, and there are some great local things that are happening to address that issue, but I think that it's not enough. I think that we can do more to figure out a better solution to increasing the number of housing units, and making them affordable, and even free in cases for folks who are unhoused and can't afford a place to live. So I live in Cottage Grove, and we have a large number of folks here who do not have homes, and that is unacceptable.
Of course, if you get elected, you'll be in the House, which passed the legislation that would have banned the no-cause evictions, and it died in the Senate. So it's too bad you aren't running for the Senate, but at least you'll be joining the progressive side of the legislature. So, what is your political background? What inspired you to run?
So I have not held office before. This is my first time running. And during the 2016 election, I was just, something clicked in me. I have to tell you, I was just disappointed, frustrated, angry at some of the folks who were elected at our national, state, and local levels. And was really frustrated at the lies, the inequities, the corruption, and are also frustrated, at our elected officials not representing the people's needs. And I think that people are feeling like elected officials. I feel like a lot of people are feeling like things are getting done to them, and I from what I've heard, people are feeling like they've lost their voice. And I think that it's our job as candidates and as it's the job of an elected official to make sure they are elevating the interests of the people in their elected positions to use that in making decisions and in getting laws passed. And I just feel like that is it's not happening. I mean, if you look at what happened with Measure 101 and what my opponent did, it would have caused thousands of people to lose health care, and that is absolutely unacceptable. People need access to health care. I was speaking to a woman at an event last night, and she told me, she said, without access to health care, I would die. And that is not okay. And so, sorry, that's what I want to do something about.
Betsy, do we have any questions on the line?
No, there are no questions. Sorry.
Just out of curiosity, do you find opioid addiction, drug addiction, an issue in your area?
Absolutely, it is an issue in our area, and I know that we have some local. I know that our local leaders are looking to do more around opioid and other drug addiction. I know that they're looking at options, basically what needs to be done to address this issue here locally. It is a big problem here.
Just out of curiosity, is water an issue, or do you see it becoming an issue in your district?
Water, yes. And especially so, what I've heard most recently from our local folks is that they're concerned about aerial spraying and the effect that has on local water quality. And that is an issue that a lot of local folks are trying to bring to the local elected officials and state elected officials as well, as a huge concern. I've heard from a lot of folks in the local community that it's a huge concern of theirs, and they want to see it addressed because it's gone on for decades and it has not been addressed.
Yeah, that was a big issue in Rockaway, and we had the candidate running for House District 32 from Rockaway talk a couple of weeks ago, because there were aerial spraying, there was no warning, it was getting into the water supply, and no one seemed to care. And they actually sent protesters to the quarterly meeting of the Democratic Party when we met in Tillamook, because they wanted someone to do something. And I believe that bill also died in the Senate, although I'm not completely sure.
I believe that it did.
So, yeah, go ahead, Betsy.
There's a question. Bram Sly one asked, do you support universal health care?
100% yes. I absolutely do. That is the number one thing that I support.
There were they went through a number of issues last night at the Celsi dinner, and there were two that got the most vocal support from the audience, and one was universal health care, which is just amazing that issue has now become so ascendant in as an issue in the population. That and homelessness were the two most supported issues in that meeting. So how's the campaign going?
Good so far. I just started. I got into this race a little late in the game, so I'm sort of just getting started. But I do have a website, and I'm, trying to get out to events and meet folks. And, I have started some fundraising and, need to get out and find some volunteers who want to help with the campaign. So working with the local party on that.
Yeah, you have the luxury of a much slower ramp because you don't have a primary opponent, and so you can just start building your organization as we get closer to November.
Yeah, and I just want to say, because I live in Douglas County, you might want to check us out. We have some pretty progressive Democrats. I don't happen to be in the district you're running for, but a lot of the folks in our PCP are. So you might want to check us out, and connect with our local Dem party here.
Thank you, Betsy. I have reached out to the local Dem party in Douglas County and just getting connected to them. So I should be at an event or a meeting soon to meet the folks down there in Douglas.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other issues you'd like to talk about today?
I think one other thing that is a huge issue here that I've heard from a lot of folks, there was a survey done recently in the local area, and folks said that jobs were a big issue. And I think that, we need to find a better way. So, of course, Lane and Douglas are huge timber counties, and we're finding that those jobs are declining, especially as they are changing the way those jobs are done. It takes fewer people to do the same jobs, and so that's an issue we have. We need more jobs, and we need more sustainable jobs. I think that we can explore more green options, and especially the green options jobs. And I think that I know one of the issues that I want to make sure that I don't exclude small business owners. My dad was a small business owner, and where I grew up, and I want to make sure that we're working together to find better options. And I think one of those options could be also looking at better career and technical education for young people as they are exploring what to do. And especially, jobs are changing, our world is changing, and we need to look at, what those more modern jobs are, and look at those needs and see how we can match people to fit those needs. And
if we want to volunteer or throw money at you, how do we do that?
So I have a website.
Yay!
It is Inskip for Oregon.com.
And is it did you spell 4 or did you use the number 4?
FOR, spelled out.
Awesome. Do you have a budget?
So let me tell you, my opponent raised nearly $190,000 in the last election, and I am hoping to reach close to that. I'm just getting started, so I now have close to 1,500 that I've raised just in the past week or so. So I'm slowly but surely getting there, and reaching out to some of our labor unions as well for some endorsements.
Excellent. Any final words before we move on?
Just want to say thank you to you all and to everyone listening. I just really want to make sure that everyone has a voice. That really is what I'm all about. I'm all about equity, and I want to make sure that we're able to bring the people's voice back to Salem.
Well, good luck with your campaign. I really, really hope you are successful because you will be a great voice to have in the legislature.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Upcoming events. So the great platform convention of the Democratic Party of Oregon is coming up next weekend. We will not have a regular 10 a.m. show on Sunday next week because we will be live streaming from the platform convention itself. We're going to be giving updates periodically throughout the day. We probably won't be live streaming the events themselves because sometimes democracy is a little slow and doesn't make for exciting viewing, although there's probably going to be some moments in this convention that will be interesting to watch. But watch out for the cards and subscribe to the shows so you can listen in and ask questions online while we're doing it, or just catch up later. These kinds of they're almost ceremonies, and they're rituals that go along with democracy that date back to the founding of our country. And so many of us don't have an opportunity to participate in this, and so that's why I'm so excited about this happening. Record numbers of people have signed up to attend this year just because there's such heightened interest in what's going on in our country. So it's going to be a great event. Our first broadcast will be Saturday morning at 10, between 10 and 10:15. We'll do another one midday at 1 o'clock, between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and then we're going to do a wrap up at the end of the day. Many of us are going to be at a pizza parlor afterwards. And we're going to be getting interviews from people and get their reactions on what transpired during the day and if they were achieving their goals. We are getting closer to the primary election. So April 26th is when we expect the ballots to drop. And then, of course, the election is May 15th. Again, we really, really encourage everyone to vote. Even if you do not have a choice in the primary, there's a thing called an undervote, which is where you do not vote for someone. And so even when you have elected officials or when you have people running for office that don't have opponents, it's a way of sending them a message that you do not like the way the things are going inside our democracy, and you do not check their box just because you have only one option. You should only vote for people that you believe in and you want to have represent you. Going on to the announcements page, John, as we talked about earlier, we're forming a virtual group within the National Association of Parliamentarians. For those too far away to physically attend the groups inside of Portland, you can register at pdpo.org. There's a button at the bottom of the page where you can sign up to join our virtual group. And as soon as we get about 10 members, we will apply to the national organization to be recognized. Already talked about uphill media live streaming from the platform convention. And then we will have a special broadcast coming up on April 1st. It's called No More Fools Day. and it's where you can meet the blue wall of progressive candidates from Washington, Oregon, and California. So there will be 5 candidates from Washington, 5 from Oregon, and 5 from California, and you can see who's running for office.
At least there might be more. There might
Oh,
be
cool.
more. We might have some extras, and we might have some extra special guests and some video recordings from people that I'm working on as well. And while you're on it, I just want to mention to everybody, please go to the link in the description of the video for the Thunderclap and do it. I know that says donations, but it's a Thunderclap. It's a tweet thing. You just sign up for it. It'll tweet the same thing from everybody 30 minutes before our event starts, and that really helps us gain traction. It's free. It doesn't do anything else with your Twitter account, just one time. If you would click on that link and do it, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. Back to you, Larry.
And, we are Uphill Media is a nonprofit organization, and so we rely upon contributions to exist. So John and the crew do an amazing set of productions. We have Progressive Washington in addition to Progressive Oregon, and we have Progressive California now. All of the shows can be found at the Uphill Media channel on YouTube. But to do these, we need contributions. We get lots of contributions of $5. And just as we learned in the Bernie Sanders campaign, when you get many, many small contributions, it adds up to a lot of money. And so if you can spare $5 a month, it would be really great if you would sign up and become a reoccurring donor. John, please bring up our merch page. So this is the most exciting thing that we've done in terms of fundraising. So in addition to getting this kind of programming, you can also get merch that you can buy for the Progressive Oregon show. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a hoodie, and then you can also get a line of products with the Uphill Media logo. I'm going to be wearing the Uphill Media hoodie that's in the lower left-hand corner when we do live stream broadcast next weekend from Salem. Any final things from the chat line, Betsy?
No, I don't see any questions that have been asked.
Okay, well, that concludes our show. What do we have for our song that we're exiting today?
Oh, that is me. We are going to be playing Bread and Roses by Kate Vikstrom. This is Women's History Month, and Bread and Roses defines the roles of women in the Revolution. And it was a poem that was written during the mill strike in Lawrence, Massachusetts in 1912, and has been sung by progressives, put to music and sung since then.
Cool. So thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next weekend from the Platform Convention in Salem. Goodbye, everybody.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient call for bread. Small art and glories, bread and roses, bread and roses. Our life shall not be sweated from birth until life.